Will Black Ops 6 Zombies have what it takes to be a great experience for fans to play, or will it succumb to some of Cold War's more problematic features? These are just some of the topics we scratch the surface on in today's episode, as my guest and I talk about what makes COD Zombies so special and what some developers are doing that could actively be hurting the franchise. CJ, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your time. And let's just kind of start with the first question in the list of questions that I had set up for you. So the first thing that we were talking about is, what is your favorite Zombies rendition? And you put Black Ops 4 as well as your favorite Zombies map being tagged or Toten. So I was curious, like, what about Black Ops 4 do you specifically enjoy? What about it tickles your fancy as opposed to some of these other Zombies modes out there?
Yes. So, and also just to clarify specifically, Black Ops 4 is my personal favorite zombie mode, but I do not believe it is the best zombie mode. Just to, throw that out there, because I think that a lot of people tend to think that their opinion is the correct opinion. And again, I know that some things that I say, especially in certain videos, it seems kind of out there, but I always got to recognize, like, this is just personal opinion, personal preference, because of how many zombie maps and modes there are. There's so much variety, and that specifically, like, is the reason why Black Ops 4 Zombies is my personal favorite, because it didn't used to be. During its life cycle, I kind of was like kind of up and down, a little iffy with it. But over time, around the time like Ancient Evil and Alpha Omega, and then especially like when Tagged or Toten came out, and then after BO4 wrapped up its life cycle, I really started to realize, like, because it's so different and it's so like they took so many risks and they did so many creative things, especially when you juxtapose it to Black Ops 3. It feels like they really put a lot of passion and care into this. Like, they really wanted to make this work and do something different. And because of because there's a consistent like gameplay style between World at War, BO1, BO2, and BO3. It feels like with BO3 Chronicles, it's like, okay, we came full circle. We got everything that we wanted to do here. Now let's try and experiment. And in that respect, I can respect it. And it just, the gameplay style of BO4, the way that they lay things out, I think that the perk system is extremely creative. I think that the variety is there. I think that the variety of the maps is there. You get a lot of people saying that, oh, but half the maps are old maps, they're remasters, they're remakes. And but what BO4 did so well is that all of the original maps are super distinct, creative, like visually, gameplay wise, they're something that you've never seen before, all of them. And then all of the maps that have been brought back, they're not the Chronicle style remasters, they're remakes. They take the layouts of these older maps, they add to them, they improve upon them, they give them more substantial content, but still keeping the elements of those older maps. And that's why Classified, Alpha Omega, and Tagged or Toten are so fun and so well regarded for me, because you take the best of both worlds. You take the classic Jimmy Zielinski style maps from BO1, and then you take the philosophy of Blundell's maps from BO3, where you have like all of this, additional content, and you put them in there because, just me personally, I think Blundell's map layouts and his map designs
They're
are
way
not
better.
very good.
No, you disagree? Okay, well, all right. I think they're better,
Yeah,
but
no,
go
no.
ahead.
I think that, no. See, I think Jimmy Zielinski knew how to make good map layouts. He knew how to make interesting, diverse locations. I think Blundell leads far too much into feeling very samey. All of his maps are kind of laid out very similarly. They're all very tight corridors, just cluttered boxes, everywhere.
Well,
That's how all of his maps
let's
play very similar.
let's put a pin in that, because there's a couple points that you addressed here. Okay, so I want to kind of go through them. So the first thing that you're talking about, regarding BO4, and I think you made a good case for the game, but you were talking about how there's a difference between your personal opinion and what the actual best zombies mode is. So what is what is this stark difference? Because I do believe that there is something objective about good game design. Now, there's a subjective element when it comes to engaging in what you like and what you don't like, but I think there are fundamentals in game design, like having a great gameplay loop, having good artistic vision, having some of these. I know they're subjective in nature to a degree, but I think that having solid foundations in a variety of different systems when it comes to building a game is rather objective. So I'm just curious, how can you have a personal opinion on what your favorite mode is, but not think it's also the actual objective best?
Well, the reason for that is that I can recognize when something has faults, and especially if we look at like the development history of BO4, very mixed bag. Like it was a rocky road, and we all know that. Not even having to like look up things, you could just tell from just the way the game play is and how it evolved from launch to now. Because I'm sure you remember the health system was different at launch.
Yep.
The speed cola ability was not in the game at
Yep.
launch.
It was
A
not.
lot of things were different, and changing things, and because you've never seen gameplay mechanics like that change from launch to like months into the gameplay. That's never happened before. Um,
Yeah,
but
but
when it comes to
I will say though, just to kind of counter that, like that at that point in time, the industry was starting to really shift into more of like a updating games as a live service. Like that
yeah,
around 2018, that really started to happen. So I would argue before that, when you kind of launched things, they were kind of set in stone, and then it begs the question, like, what is a gameplay mechanic? Because then I could argue like, well, they adjusted the spawn rate of the spiders inside of Zetsubo and where they kind of spawned into, so people weren't getting stuck and tripped on them. I mean, they lower the damage outputs of panzers, they change things all the time. So it's kind of like, well, where's that line? But I understand you're saying it is more of like these were impactful gameplay mechanics that they were adjusting, like adding in a speed cola feature or adding or updating the health. Like that had never really been done. And I do agree with that, but I think that was saying like, hey, we need to take some like, think about that interview with Blundell. I think it was in one of your videos where he's talking with Johnny J25, and he says, we're not going to react to the community right away. We're going to let some time take, like,
let things
yes,
settle.
exactly, let things
Yeah.
settle. So um I do think that is pretty interesting. But what about the layouts? I could not disagree more with this point. So I actually kind of would like to get into this a little bit. I think Jimmy Zielinski maps have the worst layouts ever. They're so convoluted,
Oh,
they're so confusing. I don't like that at all. But go ahead.
well, that's interesting to hear that, because Kino der Toten does not play like Ascension. Ascension does not play like Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead does not play like Shangri-La, and Shangri-La most certainly does not play like Moon. And all those maps have weird layouts. Now, his layouts can be, you know, interesting and very different, but the fact that they are all different is the whole point of making a new map. If all of your maps follow the exact same basic structure, and a structure that has been used many, 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 many times is the Shinonuma layout. Big center building or
Hmm.
area leading off into 3 or 4 branching paths.
Sure.
And Lundell has used that more than Zelensky ever did. You see that in Shadows of Evil. You see that in Gerard Crovey. You even kind of see that
It's in Dead of the Night
in
too.
Dead of the Night. And again, it's not the fact that it's being reused. It's the fact that, is it conductive to good game flow? Because I talk about game flow all the time, and I think that Kino der Toten flows great. I think that Ascension flows great. I think that Moon flows decently. But when it comes to stuff like Blundell's maps, I feel that sometimes the placement of fast travels don't always work. I think that the nature of his maps, there's not enough training areas that are substantial or good enough for training. Now, obviously, if a player is good enough, they can train anywhere. I mean, people have
It's true.
trained on Verruct in the shower room, so it's entirely possible for anyone to do anything.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, in general, I don't always want to play zombies like I'm playing a CDL tournament match. I like to play, casual maps sometimes. Like to play, just a fun game of zombies. And obviously, some maps are harder than others, and some maps are meant to be harder than others. But when you got maps that are all kind of stuck into the same kind of design philosophy, it starts to feel all the same. And that's a major problem that Cold War Zombies had.
Well,
All those maps.
let's
Well, yeah, again, I don't want to jump the gun on that one too much, but the reason why all those maps play the same is because the content isn't substantial. The design philosophy is very similar on all the maps, and the mechanics also lead into that. So,
yeah, let's save that a little bit towards the end because I do want to talk about like Black Ops 6, and obviously Cold War is going to be a big part of that conversation. So
oh yeah,
let's talk about Tagged or Toten, because this is an interesting dichotomy to me, because I actually think the map has a lot better flow. After I did my retrospective on it, I came to realize this map actually does have a pretty decent flow, because there's the various sections, and then I think they did a good job connecting with the zip lines and the space above, and being able to use the flinger to get to pretty much any subsection that you want. I think they actually fixed a lot of the issues that I had with Call of the Dead, because I felt like Call of the Dead was basically you travel down a path and you're stuck, and if you want to get back, you're pretty much fucked. So that was kind of my issue with Call of the Dead is you're trapped, and then George is there, and it's like you're so weak for so long. Yeah, it's a hard map. It's a hard map. I do like Call of the Dead, but map flow, I think there's some issues. So talk about Tagged or Toten. What about it do you really find appealing? It's been a while since I've seen that video, so I don't recall all of your points.
right. So specifically, if we're going to start off at the very beginning when it comes to this whole thing, the title of the video is "The Greatest Zombie Map," and map is capitalized, and there's a reason for that. The greatest zombie map of all time. Now, the reason why I capitalized map specifically is because Tagged or Toten's layout, its pathways, its map flow, its traveling systems, moving around this map, it is the best, my opinion, the best layout, the best map flow, the best game flow. It is the best map. Now, is it the best in terms of story? In terms of Easter egg? No. I made another video talking about that. It was a BO4's biggest missed opportunity. That video, I talk about how the story aspect and the Easter egg department, kind of dropped the ball there. But when I say it's the best map of all time, I mean in terms of layout, in terms of gameplay, in terms of map design philosophy. That's why I believe Tagged or Toten is the best map. And I didn't always think that. I always knew, like, hey, this is something special, because Call of the Dead was always a underrated map because, again, when you're younger, when you're not as good as the game, George Romero is like the devil. He's like the worst possible thing for you, and dealing with him is a nightmare. But obviously, as you get better at the game over time, he's a lot more manageable. But the layout of Call of the Dead, again, it's not bad. It isn't bad. And I don't think that Call of the Dead is a bad map by any means.
Yeah.
In fact, Call of the Dead would be, I think you would agree with me on this, be made a lot better if the wonder weapons were better and they did infinite damage, especially the scavenger. If they changed that one thing, the map would be entirely more playable in a lot of ways. Even despite it being in BO1 with a lot of the BO1 mechanics being a lot, more difficult than
it just feels like
games.
Underutilized. It feels like it just wasn't fully finished. Not that, I don't know. It just feels like there could have been a little bit more added to it, and I think Tagged or Toten does a good job of that.
Exactly. And that's what I was talking about when it comes to like why BO4 is my favorite zombies, because all the returning maps, they took those layouts, they took those ideas, and they just added. And I always liked Call of the Dead's layout, but I love Tag Your Totens because and again, I talked about flow a lot in the video, and, eventually that led to me making more videos about it. But the whole crux of this is not just the fast travels and how they're placed in expertly done spots to make getting to any part of the map convenient for the player. It is the fact that all of the additional pathways and there's just the slight changes
Mhm.
to the existing layout of just running around the map. It is so intuitive. It feels so good to run around. And when I talk about Tagged or Toten, obviously, BO4's gameplay mechanics, I like them, but Tagged or Toten's layout is so immaculately crafted that you could put it in any game and it would work, I think, because of the way that it's laid out, the way the pathways are, the way the mechanics lead into, adding on to the map. Because as you play more and more, you unlock more things, you unlock more paths, you open up the map more, you get more, abilities and things that help you on the map. Everything is in service of making the gameplay evolve over time, and very few maps do that good, because obviously, I think in the shallowest department, not to be too offensive here, but the shallowest bit of like, oh, gameplay evolution is 4 elemental weapons. Like that's like the most like, oh, well, there's 4 different things, so there's always like a weapon to go for, something to do. But what tag does, it's like it's not just the weapons that interact with the map, it's the gameplay systems. And I think in that respect, everything just clicks into place perfectly on
Yeah.
tag for me. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
why.
I really agree. I think when you have all the flingers, I think when you have the tunnels to swim, the dynamite, the zip lines, and then on top of that, you have the heat pack. And I think the heat pack is
Wow.
probably the best buildable in Tag or Toten. Now, I know you could just make the argument that, well, if you could just run through the water full speed, you wouldn't need the heat pack. I understand, but it it's cold and you're punished for staying in the water. So they wanted to give you an out, and I like when games have an out for certain mechanics. And there's so many different traversal concepts. The dynamite, especially, I used to think the dynamite was so stupid, but as I've gotten older, I realized like actually it makes the map flow so much better, and you have to like earn that. And I think the reason why, and maybe I'm correct me if I'm wrong here, um, I think part of the reason why you feel like this tag or totem could fit in almost any zombies experience, whether it's BO1 or World at War. Maybe I don't know if we want to go that far back, but
War of
maybe
the War is a little rough in that one,
maybe
but
just
maybe.
any game. Yeah, yeah, any game through Cold War. I think it's because, and this is something I was going to disagree a little bit when we were talking about Blundell versus the Zelensky map layouts, is because I think that good zombies maps have unique characteristics in them that if they are executed perfectly, yeah, they could span across any game because
Yes.
I don't like mechanics outside of the game. I like them to be inside of the map. But that's Cold War. Well, BO4 actually is the game that really started that, ironically enough. But
Right.
well, you could say World War II, but we won't get into that. The point is, I think that a lot of these games are pushing for a balance of in-game content versus menu content, RPG systems, and stuff like that, which I do like. I just think they need to be flushed out more. I'm working on a video about that right now, actually. But yeah, I think that's all fair takes. Yeah, let's talk about the zombies that you hate. So,
Mm.
right now it's according to my amazing questionnaire, you hate exo zombies, and you're in the map that you have a visceral distaste for is infection. And I was actually surprised to read this. I was for sure it was going to be MWZ. But why do you hate exo? And what about, is infection Burger Town? I always get this map
Yeah,
confused. Yeah.
yes, yeah, it's the map is called Infection, but everyone just calls it Burger Town because it's so fucking forgettable. It is a terrible name for a map, and it's a terrible map in general. no person in their right mind um, can like Exo Zombies because the whole point of the game mode is it's in the name, Exo
Yeah,
Zombies.
I
You give
agree.
the player an exosuit, you take it away with EMZs, with electromagnetic zombies, EMPing you every 5 seconds. The boss spam is horrendous. The gameplay mechanics are terrible. The maps, you can't even get into them because of the gameplay mechanics. That's what it is. And Infection started off putting objectives into zombies, survivor escorts, and then punishing you if you fail it. Horrible, horrible. The first rant video I ever made on an old channel years ago was an Infection rant video because it is the worst map ever. It is terrible. There is no redeeming qualities about it, and it should be called Sewers because that's where you spend 90% of your time
That's
because
true.
the map gets gassed every like 3 rounds and you can't even play on the open areas that you're designed to play on because of the exosuit. You can't use the exosuit. You're EMP'd constantly. The weapons do shit damage. The only thing you can use is explosives, and you can only purchase 1 grenade at a time that costs the full price. It's horrible. Exo Zombies is the worst mode ever made. It's fucking trash. If you think that it's good, you're wrong. I'm sorry. That's an objective fact statement that I will say.
Well, funnily enough, I want to tell you a little bit of a hot take. And it's this is totally naivety on my naivete or whatever, however you want to pronounce it. But back in the day, so just so you know a little bit about me, if people have watched my channel before, they know this. Hopefully, because I never shut up about it. But I started playing at World at War. Then I kind of got out of gaming for a little while, and I missed BO1 and BO2 during their life cycle. So I came back during Exo Zombies.
Oh no!
I actually bought Advanced Warfare and BO3 on the same day because I didn't understand that there were different developers. Like that I just didn't know. So I remember looking at the cases and being like, well, it looks like Advanced Warfare came out first, I think. I was like kind of confused and I was like, I don't really understand the difference, but they both have zombies. So I started playing Advanced Warfare Zombies first. And I was like, damn, this is really different. It's pretty different. And I remember my friend was playing with me and he goes, bro, he's like, what the fuck is this? He's like, this is not the zombies that I'm used to. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, he's like, I remember this map where you're like in the trenches. And I remember like a Western town. And I remember like being on the moon. And he's like, I don't know what this is, but this is not zombies. And I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying it. I was like, it's really different, but it's all right. And then I actually remember out of all the maps on Exo Zombies at the time, for some reason I really liked Infection. Back then I haven't played it in a long time, but I remember actually kind of always picking Infection, you know, like when you just kind of pick maps that you played. I really liked that one and Carrier for some reason, and those are the ones that are viscerally hated by the community, it seems like. So I don't know what was going on with me at the time, but then I remember loading up Shadows of Evil like a month later, and I was like, holy shit, I get what everybody was talking about. Exo is trash. This is where the future of zombies is headed, and Shadows of Evil like just blew my mind. So I always just think that's funny. That's what I think about when I think about Exo.
One more point about Exo Zombies about why it's the worst. Even this is like a principle statement. The reason why Exo Zombies is worse than MWZ or Vanguard is for the simple fact that it is not on disc content. You
That's
have to
true.
buy the full game and you have to buy the DLC season pass
Yeah,
to
that's
even have
very fair.
access to it. At least with Vanguard, you just have to buy the game and you get all 4 of the maps for free. At least with MWZ, you buy the game, you get the one reused Warzone map for free, right? Exo Zombies is horrible, it's predatory, and the fact that they teased it with that one survival map
Mm-hmm.
in the launch of the game, it's just it's
Outbreak,
horrible. It's yeah.
ironically
Yeah,
enough.
no. Yeah, yeah. The worst part about I don't know if you remember this if you because I was there for the entire life cycle of this game. Exo Survival, like Survival from Modern Warfare 3. I don't know if you ever played that, but
I don't think
Exo
so.
Survival it basically like you just fight against human AI
Mm-hmm.
in progressive ways of difficulty. Now in MW3 original, you could play survival on any map in multiplayer, any map. And every time they added a DLC map, new survival maps, which was pretty good for content. Very, very fun. But halfway through, around the time of infection or carrier, they just stopped adding maps to Exo Survival. They just gave up on it. And nobody said anything about this. I'm pretty sure that they didn't ever add any more of the DLC maps into the Exo Survival, which sucked because Exo Survival is way more fun than Exo Zombies.
Yeah.
It's way more balanced and it's way more enjoyable to play because there's not fucking EMZs every 5 seconds. You can actually use the exosuit and the weapons and the kill streaks and everything that you'd want to have fun. But it's just that's one thing that I can't stand is when one bit of content takes away from another. I hate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very stupid to design a game mode with verticality and then remove the element of verticality from the player. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Horrible.
but then you actually wrote that Raven didn't they make Exo, right?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so you wrote
Raven
that they're
Software.
you wrote that they were the worst zombies developer. Is that why?
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's a lot of confusion as well about who developed what mode. Sometimes people don't know this. Raven Software does sometimes lend hands to other studios to develop things. For example, did you know that Shangri-La was entirely developed by Raven Software?
I did not know that.
Yeah, and if you look at like Shangri-La, that's the worst map in BO1. It's really hard and annoying with all those enemies and stuff. The seeds were planted right there and then. Raven Software, they love their annoying boss enemies and ridiculously stupid map layouts. But yeah, no, they are a terrible
know
zombie
that.
developer. And yeah, no, because they didn't actually, despite all the references to like ravens and raven lords and World War II zombies, I am 90% sure that they did not develop World War II zombies. That was entirely Sledgehammer under Cameron Dayton. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was too.
So no, and again, I think World War II Zombies is very underrated, very good, very creative. Yeah, no, Raven Software is terrible. They should never touch zombies ever.
I agree with you about World War II zombies. And I don't want to get into a tangent on this, but I just think it's like a one trick pony. It's very there's not a lot of depth.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
So you were also saying that Infinity Ward is the worst COD developer overall, and then Treyarch being the best zombies and best COD developer. So let's address why you think Infinity Ward is the worst developer overall. I'm probably going to agree with you on a lot of this, but let's hear it.
Yeah, so well, Infinity Ward is not the same Infinity Ward from the Golden Era. We all know that. The whole studio is basically a shell of its former self. The reason why Infinity Ward is the worst COD developer is because they are completely out of touch about what the community wants and what the community needs. Starting with Ghosts, they tried to push a slower, bigger map, game with a high TTK and these just mechanics that people did not like. It didn't go over well then. Not what the community wanted. Then you go to Infinite Warfare. Now, Infinite Warfare, I've played it a lot, multiplayer wise. It is not a bad game by any means. But again, completely tone deaf about what the community wanted at the time. It's the most disliked video in all of Call of Duty, that trailer for Infinite Warfare, because it's not what people wanted. And if you play the game, it's basically just like a patch for BO3 multiplayer. It's like the mechanics are very, very similar, slight differences here and there. Nobody liked it. Nobody wanted it. The only reason why it sold well is because of a Modern Warfare Remastered was bundled with it.
Yeah.
Then you come to the straw that broke the camel's back, which is Modern Warfare Remastered. Modern Warfare Remastered. Sorry.
Modern Warfare 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah,
sorry. Freudian slip. I'm thinking about a better game. Modern Warfare 2019 is one of the worst remakes ever. Completely, entirely tone deaf about what Call of Duty is supposed to be. It is, especially after Modern Warfare 2, the original, and then you get into like Black Ops 1 and 2. It is arcadey, escapist, fun or action games. It is not supposed to be a mill sim. Modern Warfare 2019's multiplayer is bloated, it's boring with giant maps, slow mechanics, and fast TTK. Oh wait, that sounds familiar because they tried that almost like 7 or 8 years before in Ghosts, but this time it worked, and it tricked people into thinking that it was good because that was the first game to have the live service model with no paid DLC, and just the I think live service has encouraged the devs to be so lazy in the content that they make because you get so much put into the bundles and the storefront. We are getting so much less substantial content from when we had paid DLC season passes. Now, again, I know people don't like season passes. I know people, and especially during the loot box era, which terrible. But the difference is that with that, you knew the content you were getting. You knew it was going to be of at least a standard of quality, and you knew it was going to be consistent. Now everything is up in the air. Seasons sometimes come with content, sometimes they come with nothing. Modern Warfare 2019 started all this, and despite what people might think, the player base was dwindling during that game. It's only when COVID and Warzone came out that that game became popular. It's the only reason why that game became popular. And when you look at Modern Warfare 2, that's arguably the worst COD of all time. Um, Horrible multiplayer, horrible design philosophy, just and Warzone 2 complete flop. Everything about it is just the developers do not listen. They do not care what the community wants. They pushed the SBMM, EOMM mechanics with Modern Warfare 2019. They refuse to listen to what the community wants. They are stubborn. They are ignorant. I think Infinity Ward is a terrible development team. And it's a shame that Sledgehammer always gets the brunt of all of the abuse when it comes to COD developers. But legitimately, those guys are trying. They're trying so hard to work within the confines of Infinity Ward's terrible, terrible fucking decisions. With Vanguard and with Modern Warfare 3, 2 remastered, it's just they are trying so hard to give the community what they want, but they are constantly restricted because Infinity Ward gets to call the shots because it's their engine. And I think that the Infinity Ward Model for 2019 or MW2 engine is the worst thing that's ever happened to Call of Duty. It's prioritizing flashy animations and all these, like milsim mechanics over just being a fun game. And that's why Infinity Ward is the worst COD developer, in my opinion. They do not listen. They do not care. They're stubborn. They don't take feedback. They don't take criticism. And they're incompetent, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Infinity Ward is, I don't think they want to make Call of Duty. I think they want to make something else. I think that the initial ethos of that company's mission is just been taken over by, newer developers. And here's the thing. I don't have any ill will towards the new developers that want to make their own game and to make their own mark in history. I think that's important. Like I want to do good at my job, and I want to leave my mark at the company, and I want to move up and leave my mark in the world and make my family proud of me and all that shit. Like all that stuff is important to me. But you don't do it on the legacy of something that isn't
yours.
That's not yours, and it's going in the complete antithesis. Like it's a complete antithesis to what the mission actually was. Well, there's two things that you said in your Infinity Ward rant, which I totally love, but it was that paid DLC versus non-paid DLC. I don't necessarily think that there's that big of a discrepancy there. I think that the developers are going to be making content regardless for the game. Like they have a legal obligation to fulfill the year of the live service. That being said, with 4 DLC packs and 6 seasons, that inevitably means that some of the seasons are going to be less stacked than others, and it also but I think where the real issue is another point you mentioned is the bundles. I just think bundles have become so cool for whatever fucking reason. And I like some of them. Don't get me wrong. I like a cool gun skin every now and then. I used to love them in BO3 and BO4, but they got way carried away. And I think the priorities are just lying in the wrong direction. And we'll see with BO6, because now that we have a zombies mode coming in, I think that really shows the priorities of the developers. But then the other comment that you made was Infinity Ward has been entirely replaced by, and I agree with this, don't get me wrong, has been entirely replaced by a new team, and so it's not the original Infinity Ward anymore. But then you state, and I'm not trying to this isn't a gotcha or anything, I'm just trying to, get the conversation a little bit stimulated here. You say that Infinity Ward's been replaced, but then also Treyarch is the best COD developer overall, best zombies developer, but they've been entirely replaced. Like, none of the same people who are on zombies are there, or on campaign are there. Like, there's some MP guys like Matt Schrantz or however you pronounce his name, Miles Leslie, but Jimmy Zielinski's not there. Fucking Blundell isn't there. I don't think Craig Houston's there anymore. Yeah.
If he left, I would have definitely heard about that. I think he still is. I think he is. I'd be shocked if he was just gone and not there now.
I mean, he hasn't been in any of the promo material since Cold War. He's only. I mean, we'll see once more info comes out.
Let's be real. Do you think he wrote Vanguard and Modern Warfare Zombies? Do you think he wrote that shit? I don't think he did.
I know he didn't. Well, I'm 99% sure he didn't write Vanguard, because the Zombies team wasn't on Vanguard. But MWZ, they might have had some stuff at the beginning. Because to be fair, Treyarch does a really good job of coming up with characters like Ravenov and that Ava. I think her name's Ava. They're okay characters, not the side characters. They all suck, but the main characters are all pretty decent.
Those side characters are fucking horrible.
They are. They're so bad. But the couple of the main characters are okay. So I think that he could have helped with it. Ava Jensen, that's her name. I think he could have helped it a little bit, but I definitely don't think that. I personally think he's gone. I think he's gone, but we'll see, man. And I know that they have other narrative people on the team that worked under Jason and Craig, who obviously understand the mission. And then I was actually going through some leaks of some people that sent me from a couple years ago saying that Kevin Drew really wants to restore the that zombies feel we know and love from BO3 and BO4. So Kevin Drew is pretty much my, the great hope that I'm clinging on to. But anyway, I've gone on a diatribe. Why do you think that same stance of all the developers have left Infinity Ward and Infinity Ward's a shell of its former self does not apply to Treyarch in your eyes, or do you think it does in some way, shape, or form?
No, it absolutely does in terms of zombies. I think it does. But the straight answer is just that the Treyarch devs and also the Sledgehammer devs, they listen. They actually listen to what the community wants. They actually try to do and look at the feedback for other studios and try to put that criticisms into their own games. Red dots on the minimap. Better, faster movement. Things like that. It's just simple little things that they matter. They do matter. And while I think Cold War's campaign is kind of overrated, in my opinion, Treyarch did make that one, right? Or was that Raven too?
It was Raven. It was Raven, but I mean, Treyarch's, they're doing it with them. But Raven, I think, led it. Yeah.
I keep forgetting that 97 different studios fucking slapped Cold War together, so I have to try to remind myself of that all the time. Because again, when you say it's a Treyarch game, it's not really a Treyarch game. It's a Treyarch's name on the top of the list of a bunch of other developers that have made this game.
Let's bring this back to Treyarch being the best COD developer. What do you think separates them from the other developers, and why do you think that they haven't been impacted? Well, this is kind of an interesting question. Why do you think they haven't been impacted nearly as hard as with all these new people on their team? But then we look at Cold War, and
Yeah.
the departure from classic zombies. And maybe they have. Maybe we just haven't seen the fruits of this take hold
Yeah.
quite yet.
No, that's the thing. They have. They have. Unfortunately, not to be too cynical, it's just a matter of Infinity Ward being the worst of the worst at this point.
Fair. I mean, I don't disagree with anything. Yeah, 100% agree.
I think that all the devs have gotten lazier. I think all the devs have gotten more out of touch. I think that all of them have dropped their standards of quality, and you could blame that on a bunch of different things. New talent that isn't as talented as the older developers, COVID putting in this, work from home mentality, and then when they come back to the offices, they still keep that lazy ideals that they had working from home. Like again, I don't know what it is, but ever since Modern Warfare 2019, the standards of everything have
They've
just
changed.
dropped
They've changed
so much.
dramatically. Yeah, dramatically,
And
drastically. Can't talk.
dramatically. It's just
Dramatically. Yep.
it's so much that you have to create a new work. And you know
Exactly.
what? In some weird way, because yeah, have you played Cold War's campaign?
Yeah, I haven't played it. I'm actually working my way through it right now, but I haven't played it in a while.
Oh, but do you remember the mission in the Kremlin building and the
Y-
infiltrating?
yes, the sneak
So you know
mission
how
or the stealth mission.
yeah. So you know how Kravchenko and Zakayev from Modern Warfare is there too? Because
I guess.
everything
Yeah, I guess. I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
really
yeah,
remember.
everything is now homogenized into one single timeline. And the reasoning for that, unfortunately, is because of Tagger Toten. You see, Black Ops 4's lackluster popularity of its DLC season is a real shame because Tagger Toten was supposed to be a lot more impactful to the overall Call of Duty sphere than it really was. Because in the ending of Tagger Toten, they destroy the multiverse, collapse it into one world, and the zombies are sent to the Dark Ether. Now, there's only one single Earth that exists, and that is why Modern Warfare 2019 was a reboot, and why Black Ops and Modern Warfare, the reboot trilogy, now both exist in the same timeline.
Yeah, and I do
Because
think that sucks, but I mean, they could have still
and
had their
because of
own
that,
separate games or their own
yeah,
separate
yeah.
worlds.
And because of that, now and also because of Warzone, it all links back together. Everything has to stay within the box that they've created with this. You can't deviate. You can't do any creative, like otherworldly things anymore because you got to stay within the confines of, oh, zombies are only in the dark ether and they only come out little outbreaks here and there, and then they're always suppressed. You can't have any creative, crazy things when it comes to the campaigns anymore because everything has to line up with the modern warfare timeline. You can't do a full scale end of the world type of World War III situation like in the original Modern Warfare 3 because it's got to line up with what Infinity Ward wants to do in their next game in Modern Warfare 4 or whatever it is. You can't do anything overly crazy or creative or out there because you got to stay in line with the singular vision. And that limits creativity. You can't have maps like Transit where it's at the end of the world. You can't have maps like Mob of the Dead where it's in its own little pocket dimension. You can't do that because everything has to be homogenized into a singular linear structure that Infinity Ward sets because they're the ones that created Warzone. Again, terrible. It's all terrible because it limits what the devs can do.
Yeah, I mean, I do think I think Warzone has messed up a lot of things, and trying to put a story in something that doesn't necessarily need a story is kind of stupid. But yeah, bleeding the universes together doesn't really add to the elements of COD that I found interesting. Like I always felt like COD, well, zombies was its own thing, multiplayer characters were their own thing, and the campaign was its own thing. Campaign, I guess, kind of tied to multiplayer to some degree, but I always felt like they each had their own sections within the game, and I was totally fine with that. I never expected Richtofen to be in the campaign. I never expected Dempsey to be in the campaign. And even in Blackout, it was just a mess of characters doing whatever the hell they want because it was just supposed to be a fun gameplay mode. Like there was never
Yeah, it's just goofy out there stuff, you
Exactly.
know?
I don't know why Warzone can't be the same thing. And um, so uh okay, let's move on to the last well, we have one more question after this. So we have two questions left for the main that I've asked you, but you I asked what your craziest or hottest take was about COD Zombies, and this is what you wrote. I'll let you elaborate, but this is what he wrote, ladies and gentlemen. Black Ops 3 Zombies isn't good slash great. So I'm just curious what you meant by that.
Well, the game is mid. Straight
Oh,
up, the game is mid. And
okay.
the reasoning for that, and unfortunately, this is more of a community issue than it really is a necessarily a gameplay issue itself, is because obviously the zombies community, you know, consent, opinions kind of all form into conglomerates a lot of times, and that's why there's hot takes to begin with. That's why
Sure.
I'm being known as the hot take guy because I say crazy things. But the difference is that I like to back up with what I say with like, oh, let me show you. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I mean. And me and a friend right now are working on a massive, like 40,000 word, multiple hour long video talking about every single thing wrong with BO3. And again, I don't want to like spoil that because again, I really want to get that video out.
Yeah. Well,
Hopefully before Black Ops 6 comes out.
what's like your
But
overall reasoning for like why you think it's not because I know a lot of people in the community think it's like this colossal peak of zombies.
yeah,
I personally I don't think it's the peak. I actually think Black Ops 4 was supposed to be.
yeah.
But because of the gameplay mechanic changes, people don't look at it that way. But what about it is not what about it is so mid? If you could just be general.
Well, the problem is that again, with I talk about Blundell's map design philosophy. All of his maps are big, large fetch quests that take forever to get Pack-a-Punch open. And again, I know that a lot of the progression of maps is about opening up Pack-a-Punch. I mean, that's for most casual players, for most
That's their main
average players.
quest. Yeah.
Yeah, Pack-a-Punch is the quest. And when all the maps kind of fall into the same, like same way of getting Pack-a-Punch open, a lot of them are very similar. DE, for example, that one is just you just go up to the thing and just touch it 3 times. But a lot of the other maps, it's all about like, oh, there's either 3 or 4 generators that you have to turn on to open up Pack-a-Punch to get this, to get that. You do the same thing, you're just doing, it just visually it's all different and the locations of things are switched around. But ever since Origins, with the generators and how Pack-a-Punch has opened up, how the casuals play the map. All of Blundell's maps kind of just play the same in that respect. And it's not like it's bad. Okay. I'm not saying Black Ops 3 is bad
Yeah.
because I put Zetsubo no Shima as my third favorite map of all time. I play Zetsubo once a year, but just like how you said you play Origins like once in a blue moon, what it is you got maps like Inner Toten, for example. That is like a bag of chips, right? You can just you can just open it up, snack on it for a while, come back to it whenever, right? It's always there. You can always just do that, hop into it. Zetsubo is like a five-star meal at an expensive restaurant. You're only going to go there every so often, but you know that the quality of the content is always going to be good. It's
Sure.
always going to be worth your time and your money. But the thing is, when every restaurant is a five-star restaurant, and when every map has all of this on it, it all blends together and feels very samey. But the big reason why Black Ops 3 Zombies isn't good slash great is because of the gameplay mechanics. It is
Hmm.
simply the zombie AI, the game flow, and the hit speed. And people always the go-to uh, 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 you know, gotcha kind of comeback on this is good. No, that's not a defense of changing a core gameplay mechanic of how the zombies move, how they hit you, how they engage the player, how they spawn, their spawn rates, and their spawn rates adjacent to where you are. And You see examples of this all over the game. You know how in multiplayer there's like this concept of like revenge spawns, like when you kill somebody and the game will spawn them close to you
Sure.
so they can try to get back at you. Basically, to speed up the flow of the game, they made the zombie spawn too fast, too close, and they didn't pace it out enough. And because of the speed of the game is quicker, the zombies are quicker, the hit speed is quicker, they can hit you while moving, and the spawn rates are jacked up. And you can see examples of this specifically in certain areas of maps. Moon, for example, in Tunnel 11. If you keep like what the high round strat on that map is literally to keep the door to stamina up closed, go in there from the power room because zombies will only spawn in two windows. That would never happen in BO1 because the spawn mechanics were more broad. They're more general areas, not specific rooms that you're in. And that's why you get maps like Shadows of Evil where zombies are spawning ahead of you on the upper, like little narrow pathways. And again,
Doesn't that
the
happen
argument
in
is, oh,
BO4 though?
it does at times, but I feel that the map design is better suited to help the player in getting out of the situations. And I think the developers knew this because the hit speed was lowered in BO4. The player is given ways to quickly defend themselves from situations like this. Because look at the Chronicles maps. Not all those maps have the shield.
Yeah, they don't.
And in BO3 specifically, when you don't have the shield, you really know that you don't have the shield.
Yeah.
And you're gonna die very, very quickly if you don't. And I've talked about this in many, 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 many videos that I've made. Widow's Wine was a perk created because is a band-aid solution because they jacked up the hit speed. Because in my personal opinion, I believe they made the game artificially more difficult to encourage players to use gobblegums. That is my personal opinion. I think that it's all done uh, as a means to give the players easy solutions that they can pay for. That's what I believe, and I think Black Ops 3's design philosophy and in changing something that didn't need to be changed because the hit speed in BO in World at War BO1 and BO2 was fine. The games were still difficult. You didn't need to jack the zombie speed up to 11. And again, BO4 has super sprinters. I don't like them. I think that's not a good idea. That's why, I don't think Black Ops 4 is the best zombies. It does have issues, but I still personally like it because of how creative it is. But with BO3, every match, you can't play like BO3 like super casually unless you're using the gobblegums to mitigate those issues. That's why I do not believe Black Ops 3 is good or great. I think it's mid, and I think that it only has a couple like outstanding maps in it. The rest of them all kind of play the same, and the other ones that don't play the same don't really work well in BO3's engine. A lot of the Chronicles maps do not play as well as the originals because of the zombie mechanics. So that's what I have to say on that.
Sure. I mean, I think those are all fair critiques. I don't specifically know a ton about the actual like the hit system inside of BO3. I guess what I'm thinking about it like off the top of my head, there's a couple times where I kind of have remembered where out of nowhere it just seems like I get just completely beat the shit out of like 3 hits and it's over. Whereas in BO4 that doesn't really happen. Plus, you have the specialist weapon. Plus, you have this the and when I'm thinking about it, intently, the spawns. The zombies do spawn in front of you for sure. They definitely do. But it seems like there's more space, and you can really see them. The visual, the way they present the visuals is. I can see the window where I'm running. I can see the zombies coming in. I know that they're about to be there. So maybe those are what they did to kind of alleviate. I'd really have to go back to BO3 and take a look. And plus, I have infinite gobblegums on my PC, so I pretty much always use them. So I'm not really thinking about it from the perspective of not using them. In fact, I don't know if I've ever beat a Easter egg without a gobblegum of some kind. I've always had like wall
Yeah.
power on or alchemical antithesis or something.
Yeah, I mean, the only gobblegums I ever use are the classics. I hate mega gobblegums. I don't use them because I think that they ruin the game, they ruin the progression, they take skill away from the community in general, and, just on principle, I refuse to use them. I hate them, I hate them, I hate them.
Oh,
I don't like using them.
I think they're just like mods to me. Like I like playing Black Ops 4 with no elixirs. I like playing them with elixirs. I just like to experience it in different ways. But I just haven't played BO3 in a while. And because I've been working on the BO4 stuff for so long, so I haven't gone back and tried to beat the maps without it. But so yeah, I mean, on my thumbnail, I wrote Black Ops 3 ruined zombies. Do you think Black Ops 3 uh, ruined zombies in any way, shape, or form? So I don't have to change the thumbnail.
It ruined the zombies community for sure because
Ooh,
it put this idea in people's heads that it's the best thing since sliced bread when it's not. There is an objective best zombie game, and it ain't BO3.
what is it? What do you think it is?
It's Black Ops 2.
Okay,
Yeah, no, BO2 is the best zombies, and it has the most amount of fun gameplay, creativity in its maps, mechanics, and everything. But Black Ops 2 is the best. And the crux of the video that I'm gonna be making, not to, spoil my own video, but the core concept of BO2 is learning and improvement over time. Every single map release only got better. And no other game can you say that about when it comes to zombies. There's no game where I would say the majority of people would say that, oh, that game only got better as they release more maps. BO2 is that game. That is an example of devs that took what they did that didn't work, learned from it, changed it, improved upon it, made it better. That's why BO2 is the best.
so let's actually move into BO6 stuff, and we'll talk a little bit about Cold War and MWZ. So I basically wrote, what do you think, or the question to you was, what do you think about Black Ops 6 Zombies based on the information we have? Your reply was, I think that we should be cautious and hope the gameplay mechanics and maps are improved. So why don't you elaborate on your predictions for BO6 and kind of what you're hoping to see?
Well, I have a short answer and a long answer. The short answer, the blunt answer is if it plays like Cold War, we're doomed. It's over. If it's identical to Cold War, it's over, and I am done. Just straight up. But to elaborate on that, what I mean by that is the gameplay. I have dogged on Cold War so much because Cold War is the real culprit for ruining zombies. It really is.
Yeah, of
Every
course.
single thing that it brought to the table destroyed the core elements that make up zombies and make it what it is and make it so special. The gameplay, the difficulty is not there. The creativity is not there. The limitations of the player at the beginning of the game, leading them into unlocking more as they go and having a steady gameplay progression is not there. The the challenge. I don't know if I already mentioned that, but I should mention it again because it's not there. The story is not there. The in-game characters that you play as are not there. The world building is not there. The art design is not there. Nothing is there. And Modern Warfare Zombies is the perfect example of that. You are just on a war zone map and they just throw zombies in there, drop you into it, and say, here you go, here's zombies. This is COD Zombies now. No, it's not. No, it is not. Because COD Zombies is, like you said, it's Dead of the Night. It's Mob of the Dead. It's something like Keynote or Toten. It's something like Call of the Dead. It's something like Verrucht. This that we're getting now is not zombies. And I know this is going to sound a little crazy,
I
but
want to hear crazy, bro. I want
in the
crazy.
visual department, not in anything else, in the visual department, Vanguard Zombies actually improved a little bit on that by adding the occult aesthetic to it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Visually, yeah. I mean, visually, even the zombie models themselves, like they're very like they got like the upside down cross on their faces, like the glowing eyes, and visually, Vanguard Zombies was a step in the right direction. And I think that they need to go more that way. And from some of the Mr. Waffle Waffle's, deep dive digging that he's been doing recently with like the whole like there's like some kind of cult thing going on. Maybe we will get more visually interesting language in our game, which I really hope that they do. But again, like you said, that's just one element that sits on the shoulders of the core gameplay. Cold War, from a gameplay perspective, is a fucking joke. It is a joke. And anybody that says that is even comparable to the gameplay depth of something like Black Ops 1, 2, 3, or even 4, it's an embarrassment. It is an absolute embarrassment. You could spawn with any weapon. You spawn with a Bowie knife. You have perks that are so overly powered and overly broken. You have no perk limit, and the worst part is that again, because everything is Warzone now, zombies just drop special grenades. They drop this, they drop that. The armor system, horrible idea. Again, I know the shield can get kind of tedious if you have to build it every map. You have to go back and either repair it or do that. But what this is with the shield, it's a matter of positioning of the player, right? It makes the player think about how they position themselves to use the shield to help save them in certain situations. What the armor does, it's just another health bar.
Yeah.
And it only encourages bad gameplay design because now the developers like to add in zombies that do more damage over time. Why? What is the purpose of adding this? See, that's the thing. Whenever something is changed, whenever something is added, or whenever something is done differently, you need to ask the question, why? Why is this being done? For what reason? And the reasonings for the changes of everything in Cold War is to make the game easier and more accessible to people that don't play zombies. And when you do that, you alienate your existing audience, you dumb down the game, you water down the experience, and now we have Modern Warfare Zombies. It is embarrassing that we have gotten to this point.
Well,
And again, Vanguard also in that respect, but these core gameplay mechanics, they are unacceptable. The game needs to go back to a more difficulty survival style system because in the trailer for Cold War, when it first was announced, Craig Houston said, we want to encourage player, we want to bring back what made zombies so much fun, killing of zombies, and upgrading your weapons to nth degrees to uber weapons or whatever he said. That's not what Zombies is about. Zombies is not about getting the most overpowered thing possible and just decimating the undead, for infinite amount of rounds. It's about survival. Surviving increasingly difficult waves for as long as you can until you get overrun. That is the core concept of what the horde mode that Zombies was designed on was supposed to be. And they have strayed so far away from that they should be embarrassed they released something like Modern Warfare Zombies and Vanguard in its launch state and Cold War. It's a joke. And if Black Ops 6 wants to be better, it needs to be harder. It needs to be more difficult. There needs to be limitations. Get rid of this awful system where you can spawn in with any weapon. Get rid of this no perk limit BS. And most of all, get rid of this stupid Wonder Fizz mechanic where it's just a bank where you buy all the perks from instead of having it be random or having you have to actually learn where the perks are on all the maps. You just go to the Wonder Fizz and just buy them all in one big bulk.
Yeah.
It's everything that Cold War introduced is a net loss for the core gameplay.
I pretty much agree with most of what you're saying. I genuinely do. And I want to start with the casual element in making the game easier. I do agree with you. And I hope that this was just a hey, we're resetting the zombies community. Like we've gone so far in this one direction and we want to bring in new players, so we're going to kind of like open the door a little bit for them, and then the next game is going to be better, or harder. That's kind of what I'm hoping. But even in Vanguard and in MWZ, the game is much harder than Cold War. Cold War is definitely the easiest by far.
Oh, for sure.
And so I'm really hoping that this trend continues, because MWZ is pretty challenging for, I mean, not the first worm fight, but for the most part, everything else was pretty difficult because it's balanced for more players. But now let's move into the gameplay mechanics. So Wonder Fizz, couldn't agree more. That thing is stupid. The best iteration of it is obviously D Machine, because it came in 10 rounds later, at least, so you had to wait a while to get it. But I don't necessarily care about the spawning in with a pistol argument, because but it depends if they have a tier system. So if they're going to have you spawn in at, 0 level weapon, I don't.
Weapon.
Yeah, I mean, weapon tiers are stupid, so it really depends on that. Because if you could spawn in with a rocket launcher, and if it's tier 0, then I don't necessarily care about that. I care about, because in game dev, all of these concepts are scalable. So if a rocket launcher has,
I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but the problem, the issue with, okay, even with the weapon tiers, right? It's like, okay, well, it's weaker. You have to upgrade over time. But the problem, the core issue with this is that what happens when you get into a map on any normal game in BO1? You spawn with a pistol. You have a certain weapon that you want to get from the box or off the wall. You have to go and buy it.
Yeah.
The problem with spawning with any weapon is that even if it's weak, you just spawn with it, and then you just continuously upgrade the same weapon. You keep the same weapon the entire game. Why would you buy any other guns? Because you already have the specific one you want because you spawned in with it.
I agree.
It's a problem.
I agree, but the reason that is happening, and again, I don't know. I don't think they're going to change it. So I'm trying to think of ways to make it better. But basically, the reason they have that is because everybody's obsessed with grinding camos. That's the whole problem. Is everybody cares more about progression than they care about an actual fun zombies experience. So, and I do want to dive into that, but I want to finish the gameplay mechanics aspect, because I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just trying to think about ways that we can get what we want from their systems, because I know they're not going to change the loadout thing. I know they're not going to change the Wonder Fizz. I know they're not going to change the perk limit aspect. So how do we get what we want from what they are putting on the table? So the spawn system, I hope they don't have the tier thing. If they do, then it's not that big of a deal. But perk limits, obviously they're not going to have a perk limit, which I think is stupid. I hate perk limits, but again, all these systems are scalable. So if before it was 4 or 5 perks, I don't care if it's necessarily 10 perks, as long as there's additional things to build up after we hit our limits. So that's why Easter eggs, side Easter eggs specifically, are so much fun. I never like that. Let's just talk about Revelations. On Revelations, there's that one perk bottle that's floating in the air above the Horizon power generator. You can hop around during no gravity mode, and you can get that free perk. And it allows you to have a 5th perk. And then same with getting a free perk bottle from the challenge space inside of Revelations or Gorod Krovi or whatever. It gives you an additional perk slot. That is important because it breaks the fucking rules. Side Easter eggs are important because they break the rules. You get to a ceiling in the game and they're like, hey, this is as far as you can go with the rules. If you want to break the rules, here is a secret way to do that by doing a no gravity thing, by solving a cipher, whatever the fuck the Easter egg is. They set it up in a way.
Additional content on the map.
Exactly.
What makes the map special.
Exactly. And in Cold War, side Easter eggs are useless because I can just kill 40 more zombies and then buy the perk myself. I don't even have to know where the machine is. I don't know. I don't have to do the Easter egg. I don't need to do shit. Exactly. It's useless. So here's kind of my fix, and I'm curious to what you think here. I would let's just say there's Jug. Okay, we'll just use a simple example. Let's just say there's Jug and it makes your health 250. Well, what if there was like a side Easter egg in the map that, I get the perk, but there's a side Easter egg for every perk on the map, or maybe on the Terminus Island, there's like a Jug Easter egg or a Speed Cola Easter egg. So that gives me 350 health, or gives me 4x reload or whatever. So as long as there's a way where I can go past the rules, I don't really care. So it's because their systems are stupid. I already agree with that. The Wonder Fizz, all the stuff we talked about, I think they're stupid. Well, then give me ways to bypass your ceiling with cool Easter eggs that are important. Because there's only one side Easter egg in all of Cold War that was worthless or worth something, and that was the Forsaken Perkaholic Easter egg. That's the only one that was worth anything, because everything else you could get from a box. You could just buy it. You could do a challenge and get it that way. Like, there was no magic with any of the quests, because everything was earned passively. Passive gameplay is fucking lazy. And I don't know why this is like this, but the modern gameplay landscape, if they want you to earn things the most boring, and I don't want to call it lazy, because I don't
Well,
want
it
to.
is though.
I mean, it
The
is.
developers do not develop a interesting way to get something. They just make it timed.
But I think
Well,
passive rewards are okay. I just don't think that should be the only path that a developer takes.
there are passive rewards. They're called power-up drops. It's something that's been in zombies for a
Well,
long time.
passive rewards, that's true. That is an example of it. But passive rewards are, I earn points, I go buy perk. And so we used to have a limit to that, which was 4. But now there's no limit, so you can get 10. And I'm saying that salvage is a passive reward system. I kill zombies, I get salvage, I go buy thing. It's like, why would I do that D Machina side Easter egg where I can get a turret? Why would I ever do that? I'll just kill zombies and go buy it. Like, the Easter egg is stupid. It doesn't give me a bonus, and it takes way longer to do than to just kill zombies and get get it from the table. So if it was a turret with like fire ammo that I could use for 15 minutes, that would kill zombies and ordas and those yellow guys.
Additional boss damage or something.
Yeah, that there's so they need to, whatever side Easter eggs they do, they need to go past the system that they have in place. Otherwise, it's a pointless system.
Yeah, unique incentives that you cannot get through normal gameplay. That's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what makes side quests. That's what makes them side quests, because they are a quest that you do on the side that gives you something unique.
Yep.
Like on Dead of the Night, the steak knife. You could never get that by just playing the game passively. You're never going to get the Savage Impaler by playing the game passively. You
Yep.
have to learn it, and you get a reward from it. Cold War's gameplay does not encourage the player to learn anything. Nothing. And it is just dumbing down the gameplay, encouraging the community to be lazy. Again, this whole idea like, oh, zombies was so complicated in BO3 and BO4, we got to dumb it down. Like, no. Don't dumb down the gameplay. Make more casual maps, with simpler mechanics. Well, again, what is the quest for the casual players? The Pack-a-Punch. Don't have fucking 4,000 different rituals that I have to do that are 5 minutes long each to open up the Pack-a-Punch. Just make it a simple system, And also, maybe if the developers would get off their lazy asses and release more than one fucking launch map at a time, which, they're thankfully doing that now, we could have a complicated map and a casual map.
Yeah.
Like, wow. What a novel concept, right?
Liberty Falls, I don't bet a lot, but for some reason I have a feeling that this map is going to be cooler looking than what people think. A lot of people think it's going to look like that multiplayer map that they showed in the BO6 reveal with the blockbuster.
Oh, that. Again, I'm sure you've heard a lot of talk about Liberty Falls possibly being a transit remake / remaster / inspired by, in a way. And I'm a big transit lover, and it'd be really, really ironic if they make a map worse than transit.
I don't think that's going to happen, to be quite honest. What I think is going to happen is I think that they're going to be I think it's going to be taking place at night because this map takes place at the same time as Terminus. So I think it's going to be a nighttime distraught city, basically, is what I think. So I actually think the art design on Liberty Falls is going to be cooler than Terminus. That's my personal opinion. But I don't think it's going to be like this daytime, like D Machine type looking map. I think it's going to be more so like Town, but maybe not on fire.
Yeah, we wouldn't want any visually interesting, world here. That'd be too crazy. But again, I would have taken a dark ether transit with Victus coming back to it over whatever the hell they're gonna do. Again, I'm
Well,
not trying to be overly cynical about what's gonna be coming out, but still.
well, here's the thing. I just I, what really makes this confusing is the Gobblegum take. Okay. And I wish I would have watched your video on Gobblegums, but I hadn't had a chance yet. But I don't know if it has anything to even do with this, but basically my opinions are entirely predicated on the concept of Cold War zombies being the way it was. And so
Oh, absolutely.
Gobblegums in Cold War zombies doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Because
No. Exactly. That's exactly what the ending sentence of my video is talking about. Like, if you're gonna add BO3 level Gobblegums to a game with Cold War's mechanics, like, what the fuck are you doing?
it makes no sense. So yeah.
It's a fucking joke. The game already basically plays itself. You're gonna do this? Like, that's what I'm saying. The game needs to be hard. There needs to be limitations. So that way there's these little gumballs that give you shortcuts.
Yeah.
Through those limitations. That's the whole point.
I agree. So, like, for a perfect example is the self-medication gum. Do you know what that one is?
Yeah. You go down, kill a zombie with a ray gun, you get back up.
Yeah. I mean, that's baked into Quick Revive in their menu.
Yeah.
So how are they going to resolve? Yeah. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see how it was. It says when I see, we're listening and I see that they're bringing back Gobblegums, and I don't think Gobblegums is going to fix anything because it's a gameplay mechanic. They could make all the Gobblegums suck. It wouldn't make the game fun. So if they have good art design, but they're trying to be original with themselves, okay, I'll accept that you guys are changing. I'm willing to change, but the core premise of zombies has to have these, it should be fun to just kill zombies casually, but it should also have a great quest. There should also be a skill ceiling. Like, there should be something to strive for. And I'm very concerned when I see Kevin Drew on a recent interview, which I'm sorry to tell you this, to break the news to you if you haven't seen it yet.
Oh my God. I know the exact interview you're talking about. I wanted to talk about this. What he said, I want to make a video talking about that interview. It's so horrible what he said.
Well, everything was going good until that accessibility line.
In recent years, not I've been directing the gameplay, the design systems. It's really about, I want to bring zombies to more people. And so approachability has been a key part for me to put in the game. So just really like raising the floor. A lot of people, it's a very challenging mode. And so when people try for the first time, they might survive for 2 minutes. And it's like, once you get in there and you experience like the higher rounds, it's so much fun. So we want to just make sure that more people can do that.
One day I'm gonna get to those higher rounds.
You're gonna do it.
This is the year. This is my time.
This game, we got all sorts of stuff for you that's gonna help you with that.
That basically crushed my spirit.
It's like, they're not. That's the thing. They're not listening. It's just like they're not listening. Cold War is a joke. It's too easy. There's no limitations. More accessible. What the fuck could be more accessible than Cold War? Really?
I don't know, man.
I mean, am I crazy? Am I going crazy? Am I losing my mind?
No.
What is more accessible than Cold War?
I'm not trying to like argue against, because I feel a lot very similar to how you do, but I've been going back at old interviews, watching Blundell, and they said they would never have a tutorial mode in zombies. In BO4, there was a tutorial mode, and BO4 is one of the more harder modes. In Black Ops 3, Blundell specifically says, and I can't remember which interview, I have to look for it, but he talks about how gumballs were specifically designed to make the game more accessible. So, like in Black Ops 3 and 4 are my personal favorites. So it's like accessibility isn't a problem if there is a if the basically the way I say it is if the floor, I don't remember what the exact phrase is. I think they lower the floor is what people say so more people can, join in. Well, then if the floor is lowered, the ceiling has to raise or whatever. If the floor is raised, something they both, whatever makes it easier, they got to make it fucking harder. Like they got to do both. You can't make it easier and not harder. It has to be both. So
and you can't have an easy game with shortcuts to skip the challenging parts that are basically not there. You can't do that. Again, the balance. That is the most important word. The balance of Cold War is almost non-existent. And then you pick elements like gobblegums. Again, let's be real. There's only one reason why they're adding gobblegums, and it's because they're desperate. They want people to come back because COD is in a very, very, very bad place right now. And what's the most popular thing from the most popular COD zombies? Gobblegums. Put it in the game. Also, here's another question. How the fuck are gobblegums going to work in a system where there's no loot boxes anymore?
I was wondering how gobblegums were going to work in a game where Dr. Monty doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, but you know what they're going to do? Oh, you want the overpowered Perkaholic or Power Vacuum? Buy this $20 bundle.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
There you go. And it's just, dude, the inflation of microtransactions is so bad. If you think it's bad now, just you wait until December when those bundles start coming out with gobblegums in them. I mark my words. If they put gobblegums into bundles, they're going to make them so fucking expensive. They're going to be ridiculously how overpriced those things are going to be. There's no way they wouldn't.
Yeah, so we basically covered all 10 of these questions, which was great. Basically, the last thing I just want to ask, let me just see if I have anything here. Okay, final question here. If Black Ops 6 flops, and when I say flops, I don't mean commercially. I just mean in your own personal opinion, like it just isn't for you, or it's Cold War times 2. What are you going to do?
That is an excellent question because I already have an answer for this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the exact same thing that I'm doing right now because I'm not playing Modern Warfare Zombies. I'm going to go back to the old games and continue to enjoy them because Zombies from its core, Zombies from its inception was designed to be replayable. It is a horde mode, a horde survival mode designed for you to continuously play it over and over and over again. World at War, Black Ops 1, 2, 3, World War II, Infinite Warfare, BO4. All of those games are so infinitely replayable because of their gameplay mechanics, because of all the different variations and maps and styles and weapons and all of that. All that content exists there. And that's why I just make videos randomly about random topics that pop into my head because there's so much to all the content that has existed already that I can never get bored with it. I can never get tired of it. I mean, I've been playing Zombies since that one fateful day when I saw at the end of the World at War campaign, when I saw, Nazi zombies pop up on my screen for the first time. I've never put it down. Never gotten old because those older games specifically, they're designed to be replayable. The content is there, the quality is there, and as terrible and as lazy and as strayed so far away from what Zombies is supposed to be that we get nowadays, it can never tarnish my enjoyment or the replayability of all the older ones. So you know what I'll do? I'll just keep sitting there playing the older games, making videos on them, and enjoying when things were good. Because the thing is, it's still here. It's not gone away. But you know what will go away someday? Modern Warfare Zombies and Black Ops 6. Because I don't know if you know, those games are always online. And with texture streaming coming in Black Ops 6, you know what that means? That one day when the servers get shut down or there's no internet connection, Modern Warfare Zombies will never be accessible ever again. You can't play it offline. Turn your console or turn your PC internet off. Zombies isn't even available in the menu. These modes that they're making now are not meant to last. They're meant to be facilities to force you into the store to buy bundles because everything is temporary to get a quick buck, unlike older Zombies where it was meant to last.
Well, can't disagree there, man. And I think that's a really great place to end. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, brother. And I look forward to talking to you again. So I hope you have a great
Thank you for
day.
having me on.
And I'll talk to you soon.